Bluest Eye, a play directed by the Honorable Art Gilliard, is coming to the Queen Street Playhouse in downtown Charleston on May 31st, and the show will run through June 9th. I sit down one-on-one with Art for a special edition of Quintin's Close-Ups. And be sure to download the free Quintin's Close-Ups app in your Apple or Google Play stores. And subscribe to this YouTube channel. Art Gilliard.
Yes,
It's
Mr. Washington. Quintin Washington. Thank you, man. Thank you for allowing me to be with you.
Anytime. When it comes to arts and theater in this particular area of South Carolina, you are a legend.
Wow. I'll take that as someone who has worked hard to fulfill whatever that mission or that goal is. That not so much I or he chose, but that God has inspired me to pursue.
What is that mission now when you think of arts, forms, theater, and concepts?
I think it has become even more urgent than it was previously when we started. The idea was, when I think about it, there were no African American theater companies in the Low Country at the time.
Right.
And this was a developing area. Charleston had become a destination place, but people wanted to know more about the African American experience, and that's what they were asking for. Of course, everybody knows about the Sweetgrass Basket and the Gullah speakers and the Geechee people and all those kinds of things and the food and all that, but there was no theater. And so the city of Charleston at that time, Ellen Morrow,
Yes.
and what's his name, Joe Riley, during that period, they asked me to come on board and help fill that void. And that void was the lack of the African American presence on the stages of the Low Country. And the introduction was during a Moja Arts Festival.
That's right.
And then Moja obviously didn't have any theater.
Right.
They had a lot of African American inspired things, but no theater.
Right. And
it became a big deal to launch a theater production during the festival. And they had it at the historic Dock Street Theater, a theater where blacks were at one time not allowed to even attend. And so that was a really big deal. But it also was just a part of art form's existence. The idea also was that it meant that African American students were not being taught those kinds of things that prepared them for work on the stage. When I was a youth, and probably during your time, we had assembly programs. Each class had the plans, so the youngsters were exposed. So if they're not exposed and they're only exposed to technological things, then they have limited themselves already. Because even though they may be very active on the technology,
right,
they cannot have a conversation face-to-face with a person. And so art form's intent then was to expose youngsters to the stage also. And working with Jonathan Green,
yes,
it was another part of our project, was just to inspire youngsters to see, because I saw a lot of kids just scratching in class and things like that. That shows you that at least there's an interest there. And so with Jonathan's suggestion, we were able to form a group called the Youth Visual Arts Program.
Right.
And through that program, youngsters were exposed to different art forms, including things like glass blowing, sculpturing,
right,
and things like that. Things that they normally just didn't see the process. They may have had an appreciation for what they ended up with, but there wasn't the exposure to the process. And so that allowed us to do that. And then the other thing with art forms is, it's not even about just Art Gilliard. There's so many other talents in the area.
Sure.
We wanted to serve as a platform that could launch some of the writers, some of the other directors, and people who really have a desire to perform on stage, create an opportunity for them to have, an opportunity to do that. And I think that's pretty much what our main vision was for the formation of art forms and theater concepts. Through that, I think we've had many unique opportunities because we've had an opportunity to work with some youngsters who genuinely had a desire to do something. One young lady, Vanessa Middleton, she did most of the Cosby shows, but she started off as a stage manager with us. But she had a genuine interest in pursuing the art. Vanessa Smalls, runner-up for Miss America. Those are people who, through exposure with art forms, had an opportunity to build more confidence. I'm not saying we're going to take all the credit for it, but you have to give people confidence. And once they get that confidence, then they can pursue what's really of interest to them. And forming the company itself is truly challenging because you have to maintain it.
How do you maintain it in 2019?
It's a real big challenge. Right now, our major financial support, comes from the city of Charleston, the South Carolina Arts Commission. There's a group foundation called the Gaylord and Dorothy Donnelly Foundation. The Boeing Employee Credit, groups like that. But most of all, it's just the regular people. Regular people who see the value in what we're doing and are willing to donate, write a check. That's mainly how we support ourselves. But the thing that challenges us the most is finding something that is of interest, because people want to support things that they truly believe in and or have an interest in. And so you then have to find something that's current. And with youngsters becoming the new generation, you have to find something that is of interest to them, even though my personal desire may be to expose them to the classics. They're more interested in the Tyler Perry kind of things like that, and things that they understand and can relate to, which leads us to our next production, The Bluest Eye. Wow. All you can say is wow. I mean, it's based on Toni Morrison's book, The Bluest Eye, but Lydia R. Diamond, what a wonderful adaptation she's provided us with. But it catches the topics that youngsters today are still dealing with. And they're dealing with it in their ways, even though this show takes place during the 1940s in a place like Ohio. There are still elements of it that are very relevant today. Very relevant. Piccolo Spoleto is the main character. And she really, really believes that her life would have been so much better if her skin wasn't so dark and she only had blue eyes. That's an incredible feeling for a youngster growing up to feel. Instead of seeing the value in themselves, they are comparing themselves to something they have no control over. But yet still they have to deal with the other crises that occur in their lives. So I love The Bluest Eye. We were going to have a young man directing it from Claflin. He's one of the faculty members from Claflin. But the timing didn't work out, so I'm directing it. But I think we have such a wonderful group of actors in the play. Some of them are relatively new, but some of them have been exposed to theater for quite some time and have been working with a number of other companies. But the stories that they tell are stories that I think we will all recognize. I mean, your skin is just as dark as my skin, but I'm sure you know some people who thought their lives would have been better if their skin was a little lighter and if they had bluer eyes. I'm sure you know somebody like that. I've known quite a few of them in my life. I'm sure there'll be quite a few of them in the audience during the show. But the reality is, I think as a director, my responsibility is to try to find some redeeming grace in those people, because In this show, Piccolo had no idea where she was going to be born. She had no control over the situation she was going to be born in.
Right.
But somewhere along the line, she had to be exposed to things that was going to form the basis of who she was going to become. And that's how racism, which is still relevant today, plays around. I mean, young people are running around Charleston right now. The things that they're exposed to is unbelievable compared to the things that I was exposed to when I was a youth in high school. Burke, as an example, was the most enchanting place you could want to be. I mean, we were champion of this, champion of that. I mean, we were stellar. But young people now, all they read is this one shot this or this one did that. And that affects them, their feelings also. So I think we have to be sensitive to things like that, but we also have to be careful what we're exposing them to. And we have to find ways to make them have a happy life. And I think sometimes we get lost in that.
What else are you keeping your eye on when you look at what's going on in society beyond racism?
Mm-hmm. Well, there's so many things that I keep my eyes on. The education system is truly, truly a sad situation because I heard a teacher say on television the other day, the further away you get away from teaching, the more money you make. That's really unfortunate because the teachers are pretty much the foundation for what we're gonna. But the further up the chain you get, the more money you make. It's not very good example to be setting. The teachers are the ones who need to be rewarded more because of the sacrifices they make, just so they can ensure that the youngsters are exposed to what they need to be exposed to. That's one of the issues I see. And Dr. Gilliard shared something with me the other day that sort of freaked my mind because as a student I took Latin first in high school and then I took French 2 years of both. And I couldn't understand why Burke only had, I think, one foreign language being offered. I could be wrong on that.
Okay.
But I think there were, and I said, what? I said, what happened to French, Spanish, and all these other schools are taking Mandarin and everything else? And she said, well, now you know, all you need is a certain number of students of their parents to request a language or any subject, and it could be implemented at school. I didn't know that. So, and I hope I'm not misstating her, but that opened up my eyes to, we could make Burke an academically successful school again, increase the enrollment and everything if we told the school district what we wanted at the school. It could be a baccalaureate school. It could do whatever it needed to do if you had the support. And I think the reality is the community has changed.
Sure.
And since it has changed and we have no control over that, it has happened. We don't have to sacrifice the school for that. What we need to do is make the school one that other people will want to come to also, along with who's been attending it. That's another thing that I'd like to see addressed more.
Okay.
And I wish that people would have a better understanding for supporting an organization like Art Forms.
Sure.
It is not easy in the sense that everything that other theater companies have to spend on, we have to do it also if we're using a building that is one of the main theaters in the city. And not always are we in a position to afford all the niceties and things that they used to. You have to remember, when we started, our house was Dock Street Theater.
Right.
Everybody wanted to be at Dock Street Theater. But then the tragedy was they had a renovation of the theater.
Right, I remember that.
And when they renovated this theater, the space that we occupied was eliminated. And not only was it eliminated, we were for the first time stuck finding a place to pay rent for everything, storage, for rehearsals, and everything we did, which we didn't have as an expense at the time. So for us, the challenge was continuing to do the kinds of things that you're known for doing, but you also have to find another element or another way of supporting yourselves.
Sure.
And so basically for something like that, we pretty much try to focus on a board of directors.
Oh, yeah.
And with us, the board of directors are the people that you know of
Oh, yes.
or who can help you raise money.
Sure.
That's been kind of challenging because even though we have great members on board, some of them are committed to so many other organizations
Sure.
and causes.
Right.
And you have to respect that. You like the idea that they want to see you succeed and they want to be of help. But the reality is you can't keep going back to the same people over and over and over again. So for us, the challenge is trying to keep that support out. That's why I told you earlier we were focusing more on the younger generations, those in their early 30s and things like that, because those are the ones who are going to be the leaders anyway. So we may as well prepare them so they do it the correct way. And that's sort of my focus right now.
How do you expose these young kids to art and theater in 2019?
In 2019, what we've started doing is inviting them to actually serve on the board. And by serving on the board, you also get an opportunity to find out what their thoughts are.
Sure.
And so they're the ones who help you to plan what the program is going to be for the year. And but that's one of the things. The other thing, as I said earlier, is make something interesting that appeals to them. Some of the things I'm interested in, some of the things I'm not interested in. But that doesn't mean because I'm not interested that it can't be done. That's why I said we have to have other people,
Sure.
guest directors or whatever you want to call them, come in so that the youngsters still get exposed to what's currently being the hot things right now.
Right now.
Poetry slams and things like that. Very popular. But in order to do that, you have to make sure you've got the right space because you'll probably get a good crowd because there's some hot poets around right now. But that's another expense. And while we don't have no anonymous donors or anything like that yet. Maybe you could encourage them to do something. But when you have things like that, you have to have the protection for it also. You don't want to always be going to undesirable areas. You want people to feel safe because we do live in an uncertain kind of environment right now, time-wise.
Right.
So we want to make sure that people are safe in what we're doing and that they're getting good training and things like that when they're in our programs and things like that.
You talked earlier about experience in the Dock Street Theater and how you obviously packed the house.
Oh, yes. People used to beg, you want to sell your ticket? Yeah, it was hot. It was hot. But the other thing about that is when you leave a place as prestige as that, then your crowd diminishes a little because a part of the attraction was, especially for African Americans, they love to go out in their finals and things like that to a prestigious thing like that.
Yeah.
But when the environment changes, so does the people. Yeah.
What is the average experience for an African American person going to a theater event in 2019 in your mind?
I think, just from my point of view, during the Piccolo experience, as an example, which is our upcoming show, the audience is going to be predominantly 75% because a lot of the people are coming for the Spoleto Festival, which is more international.
Right.
And I think people know that we're usually in it, so they already come expecting to see what we're doing. But Moji's, I think, is where we get our greatest African American exposure. And it probably is the complete opposite. Probably 75% are African Americans are those who are more familiar with that culture. And as far as for residents, I think it's what theater in general with this population today is based on what they're interested in. Tyler Perry's hot right now.
Sure.
I have some relatives who left here and went to Columbia, I think it was recently, to see his show.
That's right.
And I just think it's amazing how but that's not necessarily the theater form that I am more supportive of. But I do like a lot of the things that he does. Like he creates an environment for African Americans to work together.
Sure.
He has brought some of the people who hadn't worked in quite a while. He's brought them out to work. He's introduced new African Americans who had that desire he created work for them.
Right.
Writers, directors.
Sure.
I mean, so Tyler's done, but it's not my favorite style.
Mm.
But I'm more of the August Wilson, that kind of player.
Right.
That's my interest. That's what I've been exposed to as an actor, because I'm first an actor,
Right.
and that was my interest, is doing drama, serious drama. That I've always interested. Comedy was a sidekick for me, but I mean, I more than anything else, I love drama.
Wow.
Yeah.
Obviously, you've been doing a lot of plays and drama from as long as I can remember.
Right.
Me being on this earth for 34 years.
Oh, believe me, a little longer than that's long.
Out of all of these plays and other events that you obviously directed, which one relates to you the most right now?
Right now, it would probably be Hush That Gullah.
Oh, yeah.
Hush That Gullah was done many years ago. Eleanor Kinlaw Ross, another native of the area. And I think it is mainly because the story was such a rich story, and it talked about someone who grew up in the area, went away, had other exposures to other cultures and things like that, made some money, and came back and thought they were in a foreign land. They forgot their language and everything.
That
like
culture shock.
Yeah, because I find that still fascinating because, number one, it still is real today. But other than that, I think a lot of people are finding beauty in it now that saw shame in it at one time. You didn't want to be speaking, they used to call it broken English and all kinds of things like that. But now people are pretty proud, because we've had good representation coming from it,
Yeah.
People like you.
Oh, well, thank you greatly.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Well, when you put aside art forms, obviously your company, Art Forms and Theater Concepts, and you look at yourself and all that you've done for this community through theater and arts, what is that one play that you hope that people will come to? What should be the title of that play?
Wow. If it was a play about me,
Yes, sir.
it then would come. It would be something really said. He's back. He's back. Because I don't give up. I don't give up. It's not easy being the director over a theater company.
Right.
There are many challenges, and in my particular case, not only am I directing, I'm probably, if it's not already written, I'm writing it.
Oh, yeah.
I'm the one searching for the monies to produce it.
Right.
It's a whole lot. So it's the desire to fulfill a mission is what I always say. When I'm answering proposals and things like that, I try not to exaggerate it. I'm trying to be very specific about what my goal is, because I need to have it realistic, because I'm the only one who's making it happen. With the support of the board members, but they're volunteering, so that's their support. But that's what I think they would want to write about Art Gilliard. He's a very determined person. Sometimes you don't even know if he's going to be paid, But the point is, once he makes the commitment, he's going to do whatever he can to fulfill that commitment. And that is to ensure that the African American's presence is always on the stage of the local country. Now, there are a lot of other talented people who are doing the same thing, but that was my goal. And just because someone else has formed theirs doesn't mean that I have to give up mine. Mine is to preserve it. And I'm doing whatever it requires. A lot of sacrifices on my part, but I'm doing what I think I need to be doing to ensure that we're never forgotten in this area again. Never, ever forgotten.
How do you make yourself original?
I don't know. You wake up every day and you thank God for another opportunity to do the things that He has set for you to do. And I honestly do trust Him to guide me. And that He provides me with everything that I need to be effective. Not to be successful, but to be effective and whatever. I was talking to a friend of mine, Doug, and I was telling him, we never really know the whole picture of what God has with our plans. But it is our duty to do the part that He has chosen us to do. Even though it may be insignificant or appear to be insignificant, the package won't be complete without it. So we're all put on this earth for a reason. And it's good to be able, and I think that I have found one for me. And not always is it about what's going to be, what your compensation is going to be.
Sure.
It's what your contribution is going to be to God's plan. And my contribution to God's plan is just use me. Use me. That's it.
That's it. Wow.
For me. And all the praise and all the glory goes to Him.
That's right. Amen. Amen.
Amen.
Well, the Honorable Art Gilliard, thank you so much for your time. I really, really appreciate this.
Thank you so much, man. Thank you for allowing me to be with you.
Yes, sir. Right here on Quintin's Post House.
All right.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.